Okay, so you want to buy a nuclear submarine. Find a shipyard, hire the crew, watch the oceans tremble. Except here's the part nobody tells you. A nuclear submarine is the only asset on Earth where the moment you own it, 6 different governments immediately want to know why. It costs more than most countries' entire defense budgets. It runs on fuel that stays radioactive for 1,000 years. And when you're done with it, you still can't throw it away. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how a machine this expensive gets built, what it actually costs to keep one alive, why the 2 most catastrophic ways to lose your submarine have nothing to do with enemy torpedoes, and whether there's any financial scenario in the world where owning a nuclear submarine makes sense. Nuclear submarines come in 2 flavors. Each is a completely different financial proposition. The entry-level nuclear submarine is the attack submarine, designated SSN. The Virginia class is the current American standard. Each hull runs about $3.4 billion today. Block 5 variants with the extended Virginia payload module push that to $4.4 billion. The Seawolf class, America's Cold War apex predator, cost $3.5 billion per boat, when only 3 were ever built. The program was cancelled after the Soviet Union collapsed because the Navy couldn't justify spending $33 billion for submarines designed to hunt an enemy fleet that no longer existed. Congress had approved 29, they got 3. For your $3.4 billion, you get a vessel 377 feet long running on a single S9G nuclear reactor. It needs no refueling for its entire 33-year service life. It can stay submerged for months. The only thing that forces it to surface is the crew running out of food. Speed is classified, but publicly acknowledged to exceed 25 knots submerged. Actual maximum depth remains secret. The Navy confirms it exceeds 800 feet. Submariners do not discuss what that number actually is. The reactor is the asset. It is also the problem. Everything that makes a nuclear submarine operationally perfect makes it financially catastrophic from the first day of ownership. Then there is the ballistic missile submarine, the SSBN, the so-called boomer. This is not a warship. It is a floating nuclear deterrence platform. The difference in cost between an attack submarine and a boomer is roughly the difference between a Gulf Stream and a space shuttle. The United States is currently building 12 Columbia-class boomers at a total program cost the GAO confirmed at $126.5 billion in constant 2025 dollars. The first hull, the USS District of Columbia, is already running 12 to 16 months behind schedule with costs hundreds of millions over plan. Each subsequent boat averages $8.8 billion. The lead boat alone is priced at $16.1 billion. Each Columbia carries 16 Trident 2D5 ballistic missiles. Each missile can carry multiple independently targeted nuclear warheads with a range exceeding 7,000 miles. The reactor is designed to last the submarine's full 42-year service life without refueling, a $4 billion life cycle saving the Navy spent decades engineering because the alternative was worse. When they say the Columbia class is the most expensive submarine program in American history, they mean the GAO called it the largest and most complex submarine acquisition the country has ever attempted. That is the organization that audits the Pentagon for a living, and both of those descriptions turned out to be understatements. You have your submarine. You are now bleeding money in 3 directions simultaneously, and none of them are the ones you planned for. Direction 1 is the crew. A Virginia-class attack submarine carries around 135 people. An Ohio-class boomer runs 2 complete crews, designated blue and gold, alternating patrols to keep the boat at sea continuously. That is 280 people for a single submarine, all of them requiring nuclear qualifications that take years to earn. A nuclear submarine officer clears $217,000 a year on average. Nuclear-qualified enlisted personnel command the same premium over standard sailors that a specialist surgeon commands over a general practitioner. The Navy pays nuclear retention bonuses of up to $35,000 annually on top of base salary just to stop qualified people from leaving for the private sector, where the nuclear industry pays significantly more. The annual crew cost for a single attack submarine runs $30 million to $50 million before you touch anything else. Direction 2 is maintenance. The Navy operates 4 public shipyards capable of working on nuclear submarines. All 4 are chronically overbooked. Virginia-class submarines return from overhaul an average of 9 months late. The USS Boise, a Los Angeles-class attack boat, entered a maintenance queue in 2013, couldn't dive by 2017, sat idle for 11 years, had $800 million spent on an overhaul attempt, and was ultimately abandoned in 2026 because completing the repair would have cost 65% of what a brand new Virginia costs, while delivering a boat with only 20% of its remaining service life. A submarine that cannot dive is not a submarine, it is a very expensive metal tube. For older classes that require midlife refueling, that process alone costs $600 million to $800 million and takes 2 to 3 years, during which your submarine generates zero operational value. Direction 3 is the end. When your submarine's service life concludes, you cannot walk away. You cannot sell it. You cannot scrap it like a normal ship. The reactor compartment contains materials that remain radioactive for thousands of years. Some isotopes embedded in the structural metals have half-lives measured in millions of years. Under the ship's submarine recycling program, decommissioned American nuclear submarines are defueled at the Naval Reactor Facility in Idaho. The reactor compartment is cut out, and the section is shipped to the Hanford site in Washington state for shallow land burial as low-level radioactive waste. The cleanup liability for all naval nuclear reactor sites was estimated by Naval Reactors at $5.8 billion in 2025 dollars. The cost per individual submarine disposal runs into the hundreds of millions. You are not buying an asset. You are entering a 40-year obligation. Submarines can be lost to enemy action, catastrophic accidents, or geopolitical collapse. But the 2 patterns that show up over and over in programs that die financially have nothing to do with the ocean. Failure Archetype 1, the Cold War Orphan. The Seawolf class was designed in the 1980s specifically to destroy Soviet Typhoon-class boomers. The Typhoon is the largest submarine ever built. The Soviets were building them, the Americans needed to kill them, and the Seawolf was the answer. It was faster, quieter, and more heavily armed than anything the United States had previously built. The projected program cost was $33.6 billion for 29 submarines. Then the Berlin Wall came down, the Soviets stopped building Typhoons. The threat the Seawolf was designed to defeat stopped existing. Congress authorized 3 boats and cancelled the rest. 3 hulls for $33.6 billion worth of development. The Navy paid full program design costs for 8% of the planned fleet. The per-boat price ballooned to $3.5 billion when it should have been $1.1 billion at scale. Build the most expensive version of a weapon for an enemy that may not exist by the time it's delivered. Failure Archetype 2. The procurement spiral. The Columbia-class program is currently inside a procurement spiral in real time. In 2025, Columbia consumed 30% of the Navy's entire $32 billion shipbuilding budget, up from 17% the year before. Electric Boat, the prime contractor, has experienced consistent cost and schedule overruns that have not improved across 3 years of GAO monitoring. The bow section for the lead submarine was supposed to ship from Newport News to Groton in May 2025. Estimated arrival June 2026, 13 months late. The turbine generators contracted from Northrop Grumman were due in November 2021. They were not delivered on time. When every component of a program this size runs late simultaneously, the delays compound rather than add. Each additional month costs hundreds of millions. The Navy is now extending Ohio-class service lives to maintain nuclear deterrence while Columbia construction catches up. Extending a 42-year-old nuclear submarine is not free. The structural flaw in both failures is identical. The program was priced assuming everything worked. Nothing ever works exactly as planned at this scale. When margins don't exist, every delay is a crisis. Nuclear submarines cannot generate commercial revenue. That fact makes this a different type of asset analysis. The question is not what return you earn. The question is what operational value you extract per dollar spent, and whether that value justifies the total life cycle obligation you are signing. Scenario 1, the AUKUS model. Australia committed 368 billion Australian dollars, approximately 245 billion US dollars, for 8 nuclear-powered submarines across a program running to the 2060s. That is roughly $31 billion per boat in life cycle costs when you account for construction, operations, sustainment, and eventual disposal. Australia is paying this because a nuclear-powered submarine in the Indo-Pacific can stay submerged continuously for months, travel 3,000 nautical miles from home without surfacing, and cannot be detected by conventional anti-submarine patrols. A diesel-electric boat achieves none of this. The capability gap between a conventional submarine and a nuclear one in the Pacific Ocean is not a marginal improvement. It is the difference between a regional coastal defense asset and a global strategic platform. The $245 billion is the price of that difference. Australia's defense establishment debates whether it is worth it. The emerging consensus is that it probably is. Scenario 2, owning one Virginia in a world that will not let you operate it. You acquire a single Virginia-class attack submarine at $3.4 billion plus financing. Annual operating costs, including crew, maintenance, and port fees, run $50 million to $80 million annually. The reactor compartment disposal liability at the end of its service life adds another $300 million to $500 million in present value. You cannot take it to sea without a certified crew. Certifying a crew takes years under the Naval Nuclear Propulsion Program standards Admiral Hyman Rickover built, and which nobody has improved upon because the safety record that resulted is essentially perfect. The only country that will let you berth a nuclear submarine is a country with an active nuclear submarine program. There are 6 of them. None of them want a private operator's vessel in their port. The economics of owning a nuclear submarine are therefore simple. If you are a government with a nuclear deterrence requirement and a credible threat environment, the math closes. If you are anyone else, it does not. Hyman Rickover joined the Navy in 1918 and spent the next 63 years making it nuclear. He understood from the beginning that the technological problem was easy compared to the institutional one. Getting the Navy to accept nuclear propulsion, getting Congress to fund it, getting the shipyards to build it safely, and getting a political system to maintain continuous commitment across decades of changing administrations. That was the hard part. By the time he retired as a 4-star admiral in 1982, the United States Navy operated more nuclear submarines than the rest of the world combined. He had not inherited that program. He had forced it into existence through a combination of technical genius and bureaucratic will that has never been replicated in American defense procurement. The nuclear submarine industry today is a direct extension of the infrastructure Rickover built. General Dynamics Electric Boat in Groton and Huntington Ingalls. Industries in Newport News are the only 2 shipyards in the United States physically capable of constructing nuclear-powered vessels. Between them, They are simultaneously building Virginia-class attack submarines and Columbia-class boomers, while a separate government agency monitors every weld, every system, and every component through the Naval Nuclear Propulsion Program. There is no competitive market here. There is no alternative source. If either shipyard falls behind, the program falls behind. Both are currently behind. The Columbia-class will eventually replace the Ohio. The Virginia-class will eventually be replaced by the SSN-X, now pushed to 2033 procurement after years of delay. And the nuclear deterrent that Rickover helped build will continue operating, maintained by the only industrial base capable of sustaining it, at costs that climb every year as the physics of nuclear engineering meet the economics of American labor and supply chains optimized for a different era. Pull it all together. A Virginia-class attack submarine, $3.4 billion to acquire, $50 million to $80 million annually to operate, $400 million to dispose of, 33 years of service if maintenance holds, zero commercial return, unlimited strategic value if you are the kind of entity that needs to project force across every ocean on Earth simultaneously without surfacing. A Columbia-class boomer. $8.8 billion per hull on average, 42-year service life, 16 nuclear missiles that have never been fired in combat and exist specifically to ensure they never have to be. The entire program costs $126.5 billion. The United States considers that cheap for what it buys. So if you do decide to buy a nuclear submarine, just remember the most important rule of this business. The only entity that can afford to own one is the kind that can print the currency it is priced in, and even they are running over budget.